And we are live. Hey, y'all, welcome to my channel, Watch Your Mouth Reviews, where I am going on my channel giving my honest review while trying to watch my mouth. Not gonna happen in this video, but you know what? Hey, I'm gonna have a moment in time where I do watch my mouth on at least one of these videos. But joining me, I have my special guest, my bestie in the whole wide world, the lovely Miss Amina, aka Mrs. Best Reviews, joining us. Hey, hey.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching.
All right, all right, all right. How you doing today?
I am good. I'm blessed, I'm black, and I'm alive.
All right. So if you saw the title, you know that we are talking about the infamous Real Housewives of Atlanta. We are doing a full recap because the new season premieres this Sunday on May 7th. We are very excited for it. Welcome it back because it's been gone for a minute. So we are happy to see it back. So I have a fun little question segment for you because I kind of want to know, at what point did you start watching Real Housewives of Atlanta? Were you watching from the beginning or were you watching it at a certain point in time in the seasons?
I started watching season one when Deshawn, I believe that's her name, was still married to that man and in that church. Lisa Wu, all of the OGs. So this is one of my favorite shows in general. I just enjoy it.
All right. So me, I kind of came in on season 3. This is around time where Sheree started losing shit. That's the time I actually started coming in, and then I kind of went in a little bit later on and saw like maybe seasons 5. I came. I think that was the season where Kenya and Portia came on. That's when I started becoming an avid watcher of it. So yeah, it's funny that you come in at season 1 and then you watch it all the way from the beginning. I came in season 3, saw a little bit of it. So now that we are here in season 14, almost, or it's been over a decade, if I'm not mistaken, it's over a decade now. How do
Yes.
you think the dynamic of the show is then versus now?
Um, I always try not to compare the dynamic of shows when a significant amount of time has gone by because things change with what the audience likes to see, dress, wardrobe, hair, like everything changes with so much time. But the dynamic today, for a couple seasons, they were losing their footing, I think, which is why they brought back Miss Kenya. But it seems like now they're kind of finding their motion. I think the new additions to the cast have been helpful, very helpful.
Hmm.
Other
Okay.
than that, I think overall the dynamic has changed a lot with Nene gone. I love
Hmm.
Nene, so I do, but I
Okay.
don't. It's a love hate thing. So overall, now it's sometimes it seems like the dynamic now is more like petty or like they're trying to be younger than they
Hmm.
actually are with behavior and things. But overall, I'm still watching.
Okay, well, we still watching, y'all. Season 14 was a bit of an interesting season. We got some, returning blood. We got some new blood. And, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the ladies one by one. So, starting off, she was a season 1 vet of the show. She actually began when the original Housewives. Now she is back for a third time. Please give it up for the Sheree Whitfield of it all. Miss Sheree Whitfield. The
She by Sheree.
second She by Sheree, the second lady, she started in season 2 and has not left the show since. She has multiple businesses, has grew her entrepreneurship, as well as kept her music fame. Candy Burris, y'all, one of my faves.
She was just
The,
nominated for, I think, an Emmy.
an Emmy and also now a Tony. I just saw it on IG. So
Oh,
congratulations to
good
Candy.
for
She's doing
her.
big things. I am so happy for Candy. The next lady on the line is a former Miss USA, not to be confused with Miss America. She has been playing the villain, the angel. We just love to hate her. At least I do. I don't know about anybody else. I love her most times, hate her next, but no, nevertheless, she is a beauty queen that is definitely needed for this show. The lovely Miss Kenya Moore. And then the next person I'm going to introduce, she is an actress extraordinaire. When I tell you, I say you're an actress extraordinaire, it's because how do you get on a TV show and still keep your same name? They just wrote around you. But baby, she is no exception to the rule. She has been making her mark on this show and is giving what needs to be gave. The lovely Miss Drew Sidora, y'all. And the next person I'm going to go ahead and introduce, she was a friend of the show for 10 seasons before landing her own
The
for the preach
shade.
of the show. And I am not mad at her because you know what? If you hang on to something good, Sometimes it turns into great. The lovely Miss Marlo Hampton, y'all. And last, but certainly not least to any extreme, she was a four-time Olympic gold medalist, and she has one bronze. Because I don't believe in any treasure you have, go ahead and keep. She's made a nice splash on the show with her family dynamics, and can't wait to see what she does this next season. The lovely Mrs. Sonya Richards Ross, y'all. So that is the
Sanya.
entire cast of this entire show of season 14. We do have a couple of friends of the show that we'll get into when we get into all the little beefs. But for now, we're going to start with how do you think this cast dynamic did with casting of Bravo?
I liked it. I felt like they finally got it right, if that makes
Oh,
sense. Which is, I know a lot of people with Sanya and Drew, I know that a lot of fans are like not really knowing what to do with them, or it's a love-hate thing. There's no happy medium, it seems. But I think that people like that are necessary to the show to keep it entertaining. So
So since we brought up Sonya and Drew, let's go ahead and get into the pettiness of it all. The nice Louise, the shade, everything. So these two came on the show as friends. Basically, we got introduced to Sonya through Drew. From what I gather, they have probably been friends a little bit before the show, been around each other, and then the dynamic of their friendship reflected. We had saw an instance where Drew picked up Sonya from a car accident, so it seemed like they had built a nice little rapport with each other. Later on, towards episode 3 and 4 of season 14, that dynamic surely were changing because Sonya felt, in her view of Drew, that these girls on the show, the ladies, basically made it seem like Drew was something that she wasn't. And she expressed that to Sonya. Sonya was kind of a little taken back because what she saw as an outside looking in was exactly what these other ladies were saying Drew was. And this caused a lot of friction. And the only issue that I had watching it as a viewer is that I felt like there wasn't enough evidence for Sonya to make that assumption. How did you feel looking at these two ladies' beef?
their beef was petty and childish to me, and they older than me. They could both be my mama probably. Except for Drew. I think she's younger. But I felt like Sanya so like I felt like she was doing the most so that she could have camera time, which I know is a thing that they go through, obviously, with any reality show. But it just seemed, in my opinion, even though I didn't like Drew prior to the season, I did not like Drew. Um, I liked her as an actress outside of RHOA, but I didn't like her on the show, her behavior. But I felt like Sanya kind of picked with her and betrayed her a little bit. Like if you guys have a existing relationship prior to the show, or even if you have a better or existing relationship that's deeper than you have with the rest of the castmates, then why, Sanya, would you go running? Because isn't that what she did? I know it's a recap, so I need a little refresher, but didn't she go and run and tell the group, some of the ladies, like things that Drew said and did without talking to Drew first?
So this is how Sonya put it when we rewatched the reunion of the show. So Sonya said that to Kenya, I'm getting to know Drew. I'm building this relationship. However, there's some things about Drew that I'm seeing that she has told me that she's not. So basically, Sonya went with the Drew was being inauthentic.
Mhm.
And when it came down to it, she really didn't have like kind of a stickler of saying or an example even of how Drew was being inauthentic. It was just kind of she was just basically going off of things that she saw. She really couldn't eloquently speak on it. And I think that that's where the fans got confused with Sonya is because she
Very.
couldn't quite pinpoint what Drew did and see what I would have wanted Sonya to do, which would have made me like her even more, is I would have liked Sonya to go ahead and just let that just play out because it was going to expose itself. But because you exposed it first, it made Drew play the safe game. And that's where that whole line messed up for Sonya. And that's why a lot of the fans were kind of at, a pause with her. So they, as of the reunion, had not fixed it. There was a lot of hope that they would because as far as a dynamic, they did actually have a good bond. So it's unfortunate to see that a show really did drive a wedge between them. But also, one of the things I'm going to say about Sonya is that it kind of felt like she was running towards the popular crew of the
Yep.
team. Like it kind of felt like she wanted to align herself. Once she found out that Drew really wasn't with the popular clique, she wanted to align herself with the popular clique. It was kind
That's
of how
why
she
I
was
viewed it
moving.
more as a betrayal because if you
Hmm.
know this person and you have an issue with it, regardless if you let it play out or whatever, or how long you wait, you should talk to the person you have an issue with, not other people. But, obviously adults don't understand this because it happens everywhere. But
I think adults understand it. I just think that in the moment, they're not really using all centers of their brain to really determine what's, being because I would have paid late. Say I would have let Drew expose herself. And then would have came back and say, and this is what they're talking about. So the things that you're saying that they're pointing out is actually true. We're seeing those things. But with the exception, and we're going to actually get into this since we're talking about Drew, but with the exception of the thing with Fatum, I really felt like, yeah, Drew definitely did play herself and showing her character of what these girls were talking about. But
yeah,
with the Fatum thing, and since we're going to go ahead and talk about Drew, let's talk about the Drew versus Fatum. Now, Fatum was a friend of the show brought in by Sheree. She would you say, because I kind of felt like Sheree brought her in to be messy and kind of because she didn't know Drew at the time. So I think Sheree brought Fatum in to kind of play the dirty work, so that way she didn't have to, align herself to making like she was a mean girl. Do you think that that's what happened?
that's exactly what happened.
Hmm.
that's exactly that's exactly what happened. The whole time, no disrespect to Sheree, but you're barely a housewife. You were basically a friend of. So to bring in the friend of, that's how I viewed it. Fatum, I didn't like it. It felt real catty. It felt like it reminded me of like high school a little bit, just a
Yes,
little
we gonna
bit.
get into Sheree. Trust me, we gonna get into Sheree. But I agree. What Sheree was doing, let me kind of put it in a little bit more perspective. Sheree didn't want to get iced out again, like she did when Kim Zolciak was on the show,
Oh
and
yeah,
all the girls turned against her at that one season 10 or season 9. What was it? No, that's season 10 reunion where Sheree was brought back and Kim was on there, and they were all going in on her. That made Sheree look stupid, and it got her fired after that. So Sheree was playing it safe by bringing Fatum on there. She got, look, I can't do this again because I can't guarantee that they'll keep me after I do it. So let
she
me just
needs
bring
that
you
check.
on. Yep, exactly. She was playing. She did it smart that time. I actually will give it to Sheree. Now this is
Mhm.
all alleged. I don't think Sheree had these conversations. She might have. I can't prove it. So I'm gonna say it's alleged, but we all can pretty much assume. Yep, by the face you make it, we can assume that that's what Sheree did. So, what was your impression of Fatum?
I didn't dislike Fatum, but I didn't fully care for her. Usually with friend ofs, there's like who was there last season? Was it Latoya
Mm-hmm.
something?
Latoya
That
Ali.
girl. Yeah, like I don't mind friend ofs. Usually I like them or feel like they're a good addition. But Fatum just kind of felt like Sheree's Debo. That's really what it felt like. So I don't feel like we got the opportunity to judge Fatum properly because honestly, if I was in the same situation like with you or something, and I knew that somebody was messing with you, you don't have to tell me to come for them. I'm gonna come for them, So it could be a loyalty thing also, but I
I
didn't
think that's
care
a
for her.
little bit different because I don't think Fatum know to come for Drew unless
Mm.
Sheree would have put the batter because they weren't beefing. They didn't know each other.
I feel like
So
I feel like something there's always more that was happening behind the scenes. And I feel like the way that she came at Drew, Miss Platoon, something else happened that they either didn't show us or that
between
we don't know
Fatum and
about.
between
Between
Fatum and Drew.
Sheree and Drew, and I think Platoon may
Oh,
know about it
okay.
or have been there privy to it in some way. Cause I was like, I understand Drew can be a little like this, but at the same time, she's not I don't think she deserved what Fatum gave.
Yes. And see, and I think it was this in addition with the her and Sonya thing that made me actually start liking Drew. Because I
Yep.
kind of felt like Fatum and Sonya were trying to paint a picture about Drew that just did not resonate at that moment. Like I said, if they had waited until Drew showed her colors, it would have exposed itself. But the fact
Yeah.
that for two, you doing a lot, and then Sonya, you're not really piecing together like adequately. You're just kind of going with one thing and then just letting it ride. That's not enough. So I think that, as far as Drew, she was completely vindicated to me at this point with
I think
whatever
that her
narrative. Yeah.
issues with Sheree and Fatoon this season, I strongly disliked Drew on the show and wished that she would leave last season, her first season. But
Mhm.
after that stuff happened with Fatoon, I felt bad for her, and I was like, I kind of like her.
Well, because it brought me back to Portia, and we're gonna actually. I have a little bit more of a kind of like an interlude that I saw when I was rewatching this when it came to Marlo. So I'm actually going to and when we get to Marlo, I'm going to interject that because I have a difference of opinion now that I'm looking at it a little bit later in life.
Mhm.
So the next, kind of topic that I wanted to discuss on the show, more so, the difference between Candy being on the show from season 2 currently to Sheree coming back now 3 times. And it seems like with Candy, she always has to kind of find her footing with other ladies, even though she was the original.
She's
Like,
boring.
is that what it is? Okay, because I kind of felt like I'm tired of like them finding a group and then trying to place Candy in somewhere. It just kind of feels like that
She's
every single
boring.
time.
She's
And I'm
very
just
boring.
like, and it's showing Candy in a way that I don't want to see her. I just don't want to see it. But you saying Candy is boring?
I like Candy, but I think she's a boss. I think she's a businesswoman. And I think that her time on reality TV, at least related to the housewives, they should have been let her go. And I like her as an individual, as an artist. She seems like a chill person. I usually like Taurus people.
Mhm.
But I just don't feel like on any season of the show she's ever given us something like when it's her family scenes, except for when she was getting with Todd and all that issue with Mama Joyce, like years back.
Mhm.
Um, I just fast forward right through it. I mean,
Oh
it's
no.
boring. I feel like for seasons, like at least the last three consecutively, it's the same thing. Oh, I'm too busy. Todd doesn't like it. I need to spend more time with my kids. I want an EGOT. So it's like it's ambitious, but I feel like she might even do better in her own show. I just don't feel like Candy is really about drama because most of her friends, if you look at in her life, she's known for 20 plus years. Usually, if you have friends for that long, especially multiple people, not many people have things to say about her. She just, she used to stick to acting and music and vocal training and, whatever else. I've always kind of felt Candy was boring on this show.
Mhm.
Since
But for us to say what we will about Candy being boring, she has definitely did what you were supposed to do when you get on reality TV, which is build an incredible brand. And
Yep.
as you mentioned, she has an acting career that has taken off. She has multiple businesses. She keeps thinking of new ideas. She gets Bravo new reality TV shows all throughout time that we've
Yeah.
seen her on this show. So when we think of Miss Sheree Whitfield, her being on the show technically a season before Candy and has not been able to do the same thing, where do you think Sheree goes wrong versus how Candy does?
I think Candy is Candy all the time. When she is on the SWV show with the Escape, she was the same. When she was on her show with Just Escape, she was the same. When she shows behind the scenes footage or on her Speak on It on YouTube, she is the same. I don't think that she's putting on a huge front for the camera. I think that she's very secure and it shows. With Sheree, I feel like you could just sense and feel that she's there for the check. You know what I mean? Like it seems like
Mm,
Sheree will say and do messy things. I mean, it's important to have someone like that, but I think Kenya does a better job at being messy in necessary moments than Sheree. With Sheree, it just seems like her digs are low, her shade doesn't always read correctly and comes across as bullying. Um, then she tries to also be secretive about certain parts of her life. Candy does not do those things. We know about her kids, her husband, the issues they may have, the problems with their mom. So I think Candy being genuine and being willing to actually do the job that requires being on reality TV, which is share your business. I think her being willing to do that helps a little more. Sheree, I just feel like there's a lot of secrets. Like, we should have known on this past season. I know we're not into it yet. Like, there should have been some sort of update or something on her mother. Because I know previous to the series starting, for months, I mean, she put out a public poster on social media saying, "We haven't seen my mom is missing," and then comes on TV and we hear nothing. And then I feel like she tried to use She by Sheree. I don't know what to call it. I'll just call it She by Sheree. She tried to use that, I think, as a way to kind of deflect and avoid talking about her like personal life. I just feel like Sheree avoids talking about her personal life. And it's not, I don't like that.
So since you brought up Sheree, we're gonna pause on Candy for a little bit. Candy, I'm coming back to you, baby. I promise you. But we're gonna go and talk about Sheree. So Bravo, the call center representatives that are paid to watch YouTube reviewers, even the brand new ones like us,
They do.
stop bringing back Sheree and thinking that she is going to talk, do, or say anything about her life that keeps us interested. She brings absolutely nothing. Stop bringing her back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see Sheree no more after this.
I think they're doing it because they want to have an original housewife, similar to with the Beverly Hills. They should have been let Kyle go, but she's still there. So I feel like they're just trying to keep a OG.
Bring Lisa back. Bring Deshaun back. I don't care about this is my problem with Sheree. Sheree perpetrates on this show a lot. And when I say perpetrates, there's probably only been one season out of the, what is she, 9, 10 seasons that I've seen Sheree where I actually liked her, and it's because she was a friend of the show. That was season 8 with Kim Fields.
I agree.
That was the only time I liked Sheree, because it seemed like she gave more than she does actually holding a peach. So the Bravo call center representatives, the ones that get paid to watch YouTubers,
the call center,
we send feedback to headquarters. We don't want Sheree back. The only way I would actually reconsider retracting my statement about having Sheree back is if she talks about what happens with She by Sheree, or I'm gonna actually say what I usually say, She by She didn't, because she didn't do a damn thing. So let me explain something to y'all. I don't want to see her again unless she explains why her t-shirts cost $295. I don't want to see Sheree again if she does not explain why her website crashed the moment it was supposed to launch. I don't want to see Sheree again if she doesn't stop perpetrating this relationship with Martell Holt and saying he's a great guy and has big dick energy, which he does not. I don't
In the words of DD James.
I don't want to see Sheree no more. I'm tired of Sheree coming on the show and perpetrating. Like, I'm like, ma'am.
She also doesn't seem to have good lasting relationships with anyone. Like, you remember seasons back, the Smalls. Now they don't seem to want anything to really do.
I'm gonna get into that too, because remember, I said I saw an interlude that I was like, I did not notice that watching it the first time. But let me also say something else about Sheree and her choices in men. Sheree chooses men that perpetrate as well. This is why the shit does not work. You both cannot be in a relationship perpetrating.
You can't.
We could take it back to. Do you ever see? No, I'm gonna go even after Bob, because I don't know what happened with Bob. Season 3, Dr. Kai or Tai, whatever his name was, the perpetrating doctor. Do you remember that?
No. Dang,
he didn't even have a doctorate. He didn't have a doctorate, or he said he did. But he said it. He didn't have a doctorate in the field that he was giving medical advice in. So he was supposed to be a family therapist on a radio show, and they exposed him. He didn't have the credentials of that degree. He had something else, but he was calling himself a doctor.
A family therapist, psychology is my major. Is you nowhere near a doctorate for that, buddy.
Yeah. And that was exposed back in that time. It was season 3. They all exposed him. They was all at Sheree's house, and Sheree was looking dumbfounded, like, "Oh, really? He was all this?" And it was like, Sheree, come on.
She's always into something. I don't know if we're talking about her yet.
No, we're talking about her. We in Sheree.
She
We
gives me, I'm from the hood. And she reminds me of the people in the hood who always like look like they have it together but don't really have it together. And then you find out that the things that you thought that they had together were a little bit shady.
Oh, absolutely. She definitely gives that because when she came back,
Allegedly.
yeah, because I don't want her coming at me,
Yeah,
trying to
because we know
romance.
she
I don't
need
want
her
her calling.
coin, so
Yeah,
she will
yeah,
sue.
absolutely, she does. But what I'm
But
gonna say about
she
Sheree is that because you're right, she does give those vibes. When she came back after she was fired the first time, she came back season 8. It did look like she was clinging on to her last $25,000. It really did look like that. Like it looked like she bought some secure outfits because she knew she had to, give it a little bit. But then she was wearing them jogging suits and stuff, and so it was like, yeah, Sheree looked like she was
$100
hanging on to
joggers.
her. Yeah, she was hanging on to her last $25,000 allegedly, because I don't know, but it looked like that to me. That's what I was looking at, which is why I liked her. I thought she was the most authentic when she looked like she was struggling versus coming back and looking like she got it all together. Then she tried, you know what I used to say about Sheree when I first started watching? I wish I did YouTube back then because I would have explained it better then. Sheree looked like she was trying to keep up with Nene her
Yeah,
first
she
couple seasons.
was.
She was trying to keep up with Nene because Nene was booking gigs. Nene was all over the place. Nene
Yeah.
landed acting career. She looked like she was trying to follow and try to one up her, but couldn't. And that's what I didn't like about Sheree. It was like,
I
be
think that's where
yourself.
she messed up her opportunity, as you stated, with Candy building an empire. Candy did it, Phaedra did it, we've watched Kenya do it, Nene. Basically, everyone's come on this show, and whether they've stayed or not, has been able to build an empire. Even Kim Fields is back in the acting from her little one season. She has a Netflix show that I watch. But eh,
I think Kim Fields would have had that regardless of her being on RHOA, but I'm
probably.
saying for me, it just makes me upset that Sheree has probably one of the most catchiest name brand situations out of anybody here, and she still has yet even launching a website where she has a wrinkled $250 shirt
Humble,
on a model.
not wrinkled.
It was go back and look at it.
Is it
It's
wrinkled?
wrinkled. It is absolutely wrinkled. Somebody had no lotion on their feet. It was just terrible. It was poorly put
Ashy
together.
models and wrinkled
Yes.
clothing on
And it
her
was like,
website.
I'm like, Sheree, see, this is why I can't mess with you.
That just shows she does not care.
He does not
She's
care. And
literally
see,
leaning on her name to sell a
exactly. And
product.
see, what I wanted Sheree to do, which would have been the killer of it all, not come out with joggers. See, what you needed to do was come out with some maxi dresses. You should have did that and call it the September summer spring collection just to make a joke out of it. I guarantee you that shit would have sold.
Yeah,
Absolutely, it would have
I love a
sold
good
because
maxi dress
a lot of girls do. That's why I'm like, you could have easily, because she wears them. That's why I was
all
like, you
the
could have
time.
easily did that. Came out
Yeah.
with your own designs, took your time, and said it's gonna be some summer, spring. Since y'all want to make a joke about, because that's what Candy did when it came to her and Portia's situation. She made a joke about it and did the dungeon tour. You see,
Mhm.
it's like Sheree, you are sleeping. You are sleeping, and I'm tired of seeing you on the show perpetrating. Like I'm just tired of it.
She's too
But
focused on trying to, like you said, be cool. She's too focused on trying to be liked. I think she's too focused on all the wrong things. You're definitely right. Because there's no reason you're an original housewife and you don't really have anything, in my opinion, that I would call reputable. Because I can say that that company, She by Sheree, I'm working with my husband to start an LLC and on clothing. It looks like from the many there's certain vendors everyone uses online when they're trying to, put their
mhm.
their logos and things on clothes. It looks like she used a vendor that I'm familiar with and have seen
Oh,
from my spouse, because they have templates on these vendor websites and like pre-set designs that you could kind of put your name on there. I think that that's what she did with her fashion line. She shouldn't have called it a fashion line. I think she should have just
mhm.
called it merch. Get your She by Sheree merch at this website, because an actual fashion line would require more than just joggers, hoodies, and hats and stuff. Like she didn't even have, from when I looked at the site, she didn't even have like blue jeans, regular blouses, like things that you would find like in Ross. She didn't have. And then she's charging hundreds of dollars for a hoodie with the star that looks like the
I saw that. I
from
only
the
saw one.
LGBT community. What is his name?
Yeah.
Is it Jeffree Star? Is that his
Mhm.
name? That's his logo. The She
Mm.
by Sheree star. It was all over the place. It's the exact same logo as his. The only difference is the color, and she put "She" by Sheree.
Mm-hmm. So it was a flop. I only saw one page of her website. I looked at, just a page of merchandise. When I looked at the prices, I was like, there's no fucking way I
I
am
looked at
paying
the
for
whole
that.
site,
I
and
didn't I didn't even waste my time.
it was a joke. There was a $75 hat, and it just had a star on it. It was just
Yeah,
a
see,
little baseball cap.
she's
I was like,
playing with society, and like I
75. But what
said,
she doesn't fail to realize is, like you said, what makes her relatable and what could make her relatable and likable is if she was more authentic and showed her struggles with income and stuff, all the things that matter she's not discussing. So we can't it's almost offensive as like a regular American who is, I don't make the most money, you know what I'm saying, but I'm also not poor, right? I would say we're middle class, and we can and should be able to afford like merch. If I can afford to get my husband $100 pair of shoes, then we should be able to afford Sheree's merch. But it's like there's like a disconnect. Like you yourself, who struggles financially all these years, I would have expected for her to have prices that were affordable or to lean on that as something to advertise. But to go and charge that much is offensive, especially during the unplugging era of cable and stuff. People are literally getting rid of cable and finding cheaper ways to watch you on TV. So if they're trying to consolidate their entertainment and the things that they have in their home, why the hell would they spend $400 on a hoodie with a star that belonged to somebody else, allegedly?
you know, it's baffling to me. So I just want Bravo to really force Sheree to be authentic. Because see, what I feel like we're gonna give Sheree in season 15, outside of the whole Martell Hope joke shit, is that I feel like she gonna be like, well, what happened with the website is I had a problem with the design, not the designer, but the guy
You talk just
who
like her.
who was misappropriated the site. So I end up having to get a new designer, and it's coming back, and you guys will be the first one to see it launch. I don't fucking care anymore. That's how I feel, Sheree. I don't care
That
anymore.
site crashed legitimately because I watched the Kempire, another Bravo blogger, and he's so petty and funny. His page, they would go to the site, like on his page.
Yeah.
You know how many times he did that during the season? That site was down so many times. It wasn't just one site shut down. Like your website should not be completely shut down more than 5 times. And that happened with her. So
It seems like she didn't just do a test run. Like I said, everything felt rushed. It was like she really. I felt like Bravo told her, if you don't launch this shit, we're not gonna bring you back. So she just did some of the most bare minimum, like crazy interlude. Like I would have been mad if I was Bravo, the man who makes the decisions. I'd have been mad if I saw that shit. I'd have been mad. I wouldn't have cared about no Tyrone beating her in the trenches, which we'll talk about in a minute. I wouldn't have cared about any of that. I'd be like, Sheree, we can't even trust you with your business. Like, how
I
are we supposed to
forgot
trust you on
about
this show?
Tyrone.
No,
How
we're gonna
could
talk
you
about
forget
Tyrone. We're gonna
about
talk about Tyrone
Tyrone?
because I feel like I have an opinion on that. Because I went back to season 4, that argument with her and Nene, and they were bringing up Tyrone then. So I went back and watched that, and I was like,
You know what?
okay,
She did say seasons ago she had a boo in jail and
it was
then like
Tyrone, yeah.
fell off the face of the planet and came back.
Mm-hmm. She wasted a whole, I don't even know how long, on this shit with him when she really could have been. The problem with Sheree is she needs intensive therapy. I've seen her on Iyanla Van Zant. Iyanla tried to help her. She was literally keeping it at a surface level. She wasn't trying to go deeper. And see,
Mm-mm.
and that's the thing. When you don't try to go deeper, you end up missing the mark of what's going on with you and the
Mm.
whole issue of why you keep repeating certain elements in your life that are not fulfilling you. And one of the things I noticed about Sheree watching all the way back to season 4, because remember, I told you I did a lot of research because there were certain things about Sheree that I saw watching this season is that she kept like in like a very roundabout way coming for Candy. And I was
Yeah.
really confused by that because Candy at the time held her to a high regard. So I was like, am I watching this wrong? So I had to go back because I felt like I had seen her do it before.
Mhm.
So I went back to season 4 and I saw with the whole Kim Zolciak not being able to go to Africa because she didn't want to go, and Sheree was reporting back all the messiness that happened, and she was, bringing it back to Candy was like agreeing with Cynthia about you not wanting to hold black babies and things like that, which I felt like,
I remember
where's the
that.
lie? So coming back into this season, and I'm about to drag Marlo into this now. So the conversation with her and Marlo, where Marlo kept bringing up Candy was, the biggest hoe or whatever, and it was like, see, and this is why I can't mess with Marlo because, ma'am, how did you get on this show again? What was said about you? Okay, so but the problem that I have with Sheree is she sat there in that conversation and was basically agreeing with what Marlo was saying. I'm gonna take it back for you again. The situation with Portia, Sheree was digging up and trying to also sneak attack Candy in that conversation. And if I was Candy, I would go back and watch that too. I don't know. I don't think Candy's gonna watch me, but Candy, if you watching me, go back and watch them other seasons where you thought Sheree was your friend all them seasons. Go back and watch her have specific conversations with the other ladies and see if you don't puzzle piece why she keeps, sneakily coming for you because she's coming for you. Candy did try to catch her on the reunion. I did see a snippet of that, but I felt like, you needed stronger evidence than that. I know you had to have been watching all them seasons and seeing that she is coming for you. So my advice to Candy is watch her.
Mhm.
Watch Sheree because Sheree is coming for you because
She
she
has a
knows
pattern of coming for either the most popular, it seems, or the
the top
most
dog. She
loyalty.
does. She
Yeah.
has that. Yeah, she comes for them, and it's like I cannot deal with Sheree doing this because it's like, man, that could have been you, but you want to perpetrate. Where is the authentic you? This is why we say if you keep coming on the show perpetrating, it's never going to win in your favor because that's not who you are. Like it's
Mhm. And the audience can always sense when someone's being disingenuous.
Yeah, because the authenticity
Always
of the
sense it.
situation never shows itself. It's
Yeah.
like we ends up, backfiring like the she by she didn't or this whole Tyrone situation.
The
So
Tyrone situation was a hot mess, by the way.
to me, it just seemed like somebody was trying to get on TV. And they would have been better going at like I think it was you that told me she should go on Love After Lockup, or somebody was telling me that.
That was me. I'm a huge Love
Yeah,
After Lockup fan.
yeah, you were, that she should have went on that show because she would have been more successful on
Yeah,
that
she would
show,
have.
and I would have been, and but Sheree only does what she knows. If you notice, Sheree moves at her own pace because she only does what she knows. And a
Yeah,
lot of times, when you do what you know versus trying the unexpected, you're always going to be in the same place.
that's true. I do feel
So
like now, though, Bravo will probably keep her because I have heard from people in the Bravo community that I guess they've been struggling with casting for this show and a few others, which is part of the reason Marlo became a full-time housewife. That she was not their first option, like at all. It was a last-minute thing, and I heard that it was with Sheree as well. I feel like Bravo may keep Sheree though, because now it's like, okay, we have these storylines, we're invested. They know that Marlo's there for drama, but Sheree is the other person on the cast, similar to Marlo, who's willing to like F over friendships, people, and do whatever just for entertainment. Because no one was really on Marlo's side at all throughout this past season, season 14, really, but Sheree, it seemed.
okay,
Everyone seemed
so
to.
let's put a pin on that then, Bravo. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Bravo, I want you guys to start charging a fine when a housewife attaches herself to someone else's storyline and try to
Yeah.
parlay it in to make drama. I
Yeah,
want
it's
y'all
tired.
to, I want you because the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I swear I'm exhausted looking at that. I'm sick of
Yeah.
Dorit. I am sick of Erica doing that. I don't want to come on to Real Housewives of Atlanta and watch Sheree pin someone else's drama and try to use it as bait to egg on some more drama. I don't want to see that. That
Yep.
is tiring.
Yep. That's going to cause issues too when fans get really annoyed, and the
Yes.
Bravo fans are super flippin' vocal, so
Hmm.
vocal. And I think it's because the difference in how Bravo does reality TV compared to other places and
Mhm.
networks. It seems like they try to actually show like genuine things, but they have to stop letting the Sherrays, the Marlos, the who else, the Doreets, Ericas, Lisa Rennas, and the
I didn't bring
Potomac
up Lisa
ones. Don't be
Rinna's
messing
name
up.
because Lisa Rinna got fired. I didn't bring up her name because she got fired, so it's irrelevant to bring her up now.
She got fired though because the fans basically were like, no more. The fans got fed
And
up.
that's how the same way I feel about Lisa Rinna is the same way I feel about Sheree.
Yeah.
I am tired of Sheree coming back on the show. I am so tired of her coming back on the show because she does not bring anything.
Yeah. It just
And I
doesn't
don't
work.
even care about this whole Martell Holt situation because if you watch Love and Marriage Huntsville, this man can't even get over it, which I have an opinion about him. I cannot share it here because it's irrelevant. He's not here now.
I just started watching Love and Marriage Huntsville. I watched like 2 episodes of like the first season. I'm like, he seemed really. Was her name Melody?
Hmm.
Is that her name? Who he was married to?
Hmm.
It's very strange. I have only watched 2 episodes, but
Oh, you got
from
to
what
catch
I've
up. Catch up.
seen, her parading him around and what I've seen on Love and Marriage, I'm like, I'm wondering if like a Bravo, are you trying to be petty because Carlos King left your network? Because
Oh, absolutely. I think it's that, and I think
why pull in someone from his show on a different network? Especially, it seems like that's his biggest show. Love and Marriage is done well, so
see the thing about him, and I said I'm not gonna mention much of him, but I'm just gonna do a small little insert, and I'll get into it. Um, Watching Love and Marriage Huntsville, you'll notice that the things that he's saying don't align with what he actually wants. And the thing
mm,
about what I think got him with Sheree is that he wants a mother, and he has one, but he wants a mother figure as a wife.
huh?
And that's something that Melody, his ex-wife, really could not give him because he couldn't come forward and say that's really what he wants. But he was saying that his ex-wife did not satisfy him. That was what he was saying.
Didn't he make a
So
baby while
yeah, with
married
a
to?
whole other woman. Yeah. So the thing about it is Sheree, once
Sheree
again,
thinks it's smart to
she
be with this
got all
person.
these red flags, just like she had all them red flags with Tyrone. I'm
Yep.
gonna take it back to Tyrone. When Nene said this man did this, and that, you was already to believe this man Tyrone over Nene. All them red flags was there. He ends up in jail. All them red flags is there because I think he went to jail for fraud, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember. I
Yes.
don't really
Yes, it
care.
was.
I don't really care about him. I'm just trying to point out the red flags. Why is it when you see a red flag, you think it's the color green and you go? I'm trying to figure that out because as a woman in her 50s that we're seeing, that's some shit
She
you do
is
in
in
your
her
20s. That's some
50s.
shit you do in your 20s when you're trying to figure out your life. Yeah, you gonna pick certain people in your life that may not be the best for you, but in order for you to learn, you have to go through those triumphs. It seems like she's going through that now, and that's kind of like, okay, Sheree,
I
like,
kind of disagree slightly just
mm,
because as a female, I know a lot of women, like friends of mine who some women just never stop making the wrong choices when it comes to men. That's genuinely how I feel. They can go to
I
therapy, they can work it through, but in my opinion, like you like what you like and
I understand that to an extent. That's because those women, 9 out of 10, I don't know any of them, but that's because those women, 9 out of 10, did not really learn their situation. They did
mm,
not put together the pieces of how they attracted that in their life in the first place. Because a lot of times they play the blame game. He did all this, he did that. Well, then why would you attract someone like that? He did all of that, and why did you continue? It's like you don't see the pattern. And I actually, because in a sense, I kind of, in a way, understand what you were saying because I actually have known a woman. The man had a different aesthetic every time, but he was the same type of narcissist that the last one was. He just looked either prettier or he had more to offer. That's just really what it was. It was nothing more, nothing less. And so I know women like that too. But what I'm saying about Sheree is Sheree sees a man with red flags and does not look at the flash. She looks at what he looks like, because Tyrone was not attractive. Bob was not attractive.
Nope.
Dr. Tai was not attractive.
Nope.
So what you're doing is now you're trying to go for what you did not get, which is attraction, because he is an attractive guy. Well, I'm not gonna lie, Martel Holt is an attractive guy.
He like
But what I'm gonna say is, because I know I watched Love and Marriage Huntsville and I know what he is portrayed on that show. It wouldn't. He doesn't look attractive to me now, but I would say on the aesthetic, yes.
I
he
feel like
is.
he cheating. I feel like a lot of men look good bald. I want to see him
Well,
rock a fade, and then I can decide if
well, he can't
he's
rock a pig, because
attractive or
if you
not.
look at, if you they'll show it, you ain't even that far in Love and Marriage Huntsville yet. But if you see his actual wedding photos, that hairline running to the back of his head. So you trust me, yeah, you watch. Just keep watching. I'm not gonna give you, because I don't want to keep spoiling for you. Just keep watching.
Oh,
So now that we gonna put Sheree in the corner for a little bit. Let's bring Marlo out. Marlo, come on out.
oh, my God, you go from Sheree to Marlo. That's a
Marlo,
hard
we know
transition.
No, that ain't no hard transition, not at all. Because I don't like how Marlo on season 14 tried to erase her whole facts.
Look at her picture behind you, right above your head. I don't
Because she said
understand why
something that was so profound to me in the reunion show. She said, they say I'm a hoe and all this, but can't bring you one dude I didn't slept with. And I'm just like, because Marlo, a lot of Black women don't know hidden white men with money.
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
Like, what the hell? Like, come on now. I'm not gonna play this game with you, Marlo.
It's true.
Because when Kim Zolciak said that you're an escort, and she goes, I know many people you know. She says, you don't know me to be an escort. I said, but you didn't deny it.
Oh wow.
You didn't deny that. You gotta be careful with how you say something, because when Kim Zolciak said, you're an escort, I know many people and she said, you don't know me to be an escort. I said, but you didn't deny it. You see what happens, Marlo? You told on yourself right then in that snippet.
That's true, because if somebody's not an escort, the first thing I'm gonna say if somebody tries to call me an escort or a hoe, no, not I, not me,
No,
no,
I
not.
have never been. I will not do it. I will not. I'm not gonna say it's low, because some women have been able to flip that and make it a whole situation. But what I will say is that I would have said, nope, not me, not I. No, I have not been. I don't know where you looking, not me. But the fact that Marlo did not do that, it was just kind of like, Marlo, you might as well own it. And then to throw Candy in the fire like that, takes me back to when they were at that table at Kenya's baby's party, and they wrote Candy suck dick in the locker room
At a child's birthday
at the
party.
child's birthday party. Do you think Barlow wrote that note?
Yes.
I do
Yes.
too. Who else could it have been? And then for
Everybody.
Sheree, and this is what pissed me off about Sheree. That's why I said I'm gonna keep Sheree in the corner. Sheree, you can stand up. For you to sit there and say, I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm sure Candy has. It's like, so is that how you got Bob?
Here's the thing, calling Marlo, Sheree calling Candy a hoe or insinuating it's a spade calling a spade.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
yes, it is known that Candy has slept around in the industry. It is also known and confirmed by people like Jermaine Dupri that yes, he gave her the lead on certain songs because they were together, I'll say.
To me,
So,
that's one
but
person,
the
Gerald
thing with
Levert,
Candy,
and who else? Like, I feel like
but
we can
with
count them on one
Candy,
finger. With Marlo, I
most
feel like
of
I
the
can't.
most of the people that she dealt with, they seem to be like in a relationship with her. Like,
Yeah, in close quarters. Yeah, where she can call them if she needed them.
but she does have a past history of like entertaining and like casually dating people who have been known to be in relationships and stuff. But my thing is like she's married now. So
What
why
does that matter?
why speak on the past? She's married now. She hasn't done nothing with
To
nobody.
me, it felt like Marlo was trying to make sure that like I said, none of her past came up.
I will say
So
really random about Candy that irritates my soul. How you go interact and be willing to film with Marlo and Sheree, and even Nene, who've all called you a hoe, who've all accused you of doing crazy things in the dungeon and stuff, but then, and you even forgave Portia, but you can't forgive Phaedra. I think that's a little stupid, personally.
I'm conflicted with that. I see what you're saying, but I am conflicted with the Phaedra and Portia thing. I can understand her forgiving Portia to an extent because it did seem like she was told secondhand information,
I
and I
think
just
her
think,
forgiving Portia is what caused Portia's attitude to kind of just become unwatchable almost.
yeah,
Because it,
yeah, no, I
it,
agree.
but
I agree somewhat to that. Yeah, I agree somewhat to that. But the thing about it is that I really feel like Phaedra, if it wasn't true, Phaedra should have said right there, sitting at that reunion, I didn't tell her a damn thing. She made that shit up on her own. Now, who you gonna believe now? I've known you for years. You just met this heifer. Who you gonna believe? If Phaedra really did not feed Portia that shit, why didn't Phaedra say in that moment, I didn't tell Portia a damn thing? I don't know how Portia got that information, and we all know Portia the lie. I'd have put a Latasha on her. We
I
all
don't
know
know.
we all
Phaedra
know she
usually
lied,
has receipts for the stuff that she
which is why
says.
I think she did
So
it.
I think she really did hear it from someone else and repeated
Yes,
it.
exactly. And
But
I agree. That's why I said I felt like Phaedra did tell Portia that, and Portia ran with it. And I really
mhm,
think Portia ran with it because she felt like if Phaedra is telling me this, it has to be somewhat of a truth. But with
mhm.
and I just felt like, no, I don't want I didn't want Candy to forgive Phaedra for that. I don't want her to even speak with Phaedra because I felt
But to
like
say you can't film as if you're a housewife that we're excited to watch, no offense, like to give
I'm,
her that much power
I'm not
over
excited to see Phaedra.
the I liked Phaedra on the show, but
I
just but
liked
like
her.
individually, not really in the group, just because she's funny. She's very funny, and I felt like she read people for filth, but she did it like in a way that wasn't like the way they do it now. It
Mhm.
just seems really like no disrespect, trashy, ghetto, like you in the streets with a girl you see on the block, and that's why you can't. Like I kind of miss the way Phaedra read the women a little bit,
No,
but
I get with you because I'm here for the oatmeal pie phase. I'm here for all of that. Like I'm telling you, I'm here for that. But the thing about it is, outside of Apollo, Phaedra really didn't have
she
much,
had no
and
story.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I felt like, and this once again, Bravo. This is what I'm saying. You got rid of Phaedra and kept her on a lot more. Learn from that and get to Sheree too. Sheree doing the exact same thing. She has
Yep.
nothing but clinging on to other stuff.
Yep.
And I'm tired of housewives doing that. But what I'm gonna say about Phaedra, and I'm gonna go back to Marlo, I'm gonna say this. Phaedra to me, yes, she did read. Yes, she did, have some great pointers that are hilarious I can still think of today as I just did. But what I'm gonna say about Phaedra is that I feel like I cannot mess with Phaedra not giving, lying, and also just being nonchalant there and attaching herself to other people if I'm
Mhm.
saying the same thing about Sheree. I cannot do that. Like I cannot say, well, because that's the first thing someone here, whoever is going to comment and see this, opposing people are going to say, well, what about Sheree? Sheree does the same thing. Yeah. I can't mess with neither one. I can't mess with Sheree nor Phaedra. I don't
Yeah.
like neither one of them. So I don't want to see, and I don't want to see Phaedra on Married to Medicine, but hey, I'm still going to tune
I
in
don't
because
get that, but because she's
we'll
not a
see what we'll
doctor,
get there. We'll see what
but
happens. Yeah, we'll see what happens because I feel
mhm.
like Bravo was just trying to keep it in her back pocket,
Yeah, because
and
they
bring
had
her
her
out
on
on summer.
the Dubai Housewives
Dubai
also.
Housewives,
It's like
and yeah, it was like it was a weird because I don't even remember who she was friends with on that show, but I just remember seeing her and just thinking, okay,
Carol, is it Carolyn,
I
the
don't remember.
black Carolyn
The
Brooks?
black.
Brooks.
I only remember the one who did too much, the African lady that did too much. She was hilarious to me, and the cute girl from Boston. I don't even remember them two. I
Yeah,
don't even
that's
know
the
their
one she
names.
knows, the one from Boston. That's Brooks. I guess her and Phaedra are like
No, no,
friends.
that's no. Okay, then she's not from Boston. Then the one that's married to the white guy, the
Oh
black
yeah,
one.
Brooks ain't married to
Yeah,
nobody.
no, yeah. Brooks ain't married to nobody. That's why I was say no. It ain't
We
her because
talking
I
about
remember.
Lisa
I remember.
Milan.
Yes, her. I remember them two. All the rest of them, I couldn't tell you heads or tails. If I saw you blew up a picture right there. I wouldn't know who that was. But what I'm gonna say is that yeah, Phaedra. I don't want to see Phaedra back on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I actually don't see her period on my show. Let her do something else. The only one. Well, I'm gonna ask that question at the end. But going back to Marlo because I don't want to get off Marlo. How did you feel about her storyline with her nephews at one point kicking them out, but then
Bro,
simultaneously talking about her foster care experiences? How did you feel about that?
I don't know why. I watched the reunion like 2 days ago and I got annoyed and turned it off at that part.
I
But
did too. I did as
no,
well.
with Marlo, number one, I think that the African American community needs to be more aware of protecting the mental health of kids, especially young boys. I just, get it out. But I definitely don't understand her kicking them out just because they wouldn't clean. And then, so I don't even know where to begin. It pissed me off. It really pissed me off. I feel like kids should be, go
God
ahead and
damn, I'm
cough.
dying. God damn, I'm dying.
They could hear me talk while you, while you
Girl, no, they can't. I'm listening to this back and I'm like, oh shit, I deflected my video. But no, I hear what you're saying. Let me kind of help you out a little bit with that one. What I'm gonna say about that is that you could tell Marlo. I'm not saying she's not taking care of her nephews out of the kindness of helping her sister because those are her sister's kids, but it felt like she is simultaneously using them as a storyline on this show because
yeah.
it holds her close regards to having a family.
Hmm.
Is she wrong for it? I don't know because at the end of the
I
day,
feel
if
like
I'm
the
saying
network
she's
told
wrong,
her if you want to be a full time housewife, you need to show the boys.
but see, but she's exposing her sister at the same time with the whole being incarcerated. And then when she brought her mama on, I was like, see, a part of me felt like you were doing this to get back at your mama and you doing this to get back at your sister. I don't know what I would love to hear her story of the dynamic because it seemed like to me, and I could be wrong. I'm willing to accept if I'm wrong for this. It seems like the mother gave up Marlo, but didn't give up the mother two sisters.
That's what happened. They
Oh,
spoke
you know that
about
to be
it.
true? I
I
don't
believe
know.
she
I don't
spoke
know what
about it.
happened. I didn't because I don't care. So I don't. Yeah, I don't really care. So it's like I. But for me, it seems like the mother. She was trying to expose her mother, and I felt like that was wrong. Like I remember watching that
I thought
scene.
the whole situation of how she handled her family, the decisions she made, I just thought the whole thing was a little classless. I believe that even though you're on television, I want to see, parts of your life and stuff. But at the same time, I'm a human. I like my privacy. And I assume that these people on television like or would hold and keep something private. And I just felt like she gave too much. The decisions she made about the boys to send them away, like as someone going into mental health, that's incredibly traumatic for kids. It's incredibly difficult for them to understand. They already have experienced not just trauma but abandonment from their mother, and then to find out the mother has drug issues as well, so that adds in a whole nother section of trauma. So then you go and you drop them off on your other sister who's on the show in scrubs and no makeup and with hella kids in a smaller space. And I'm like, maybe I'm hoping that maybe something was behind them having to leave that house, because I know she was building her own property and she was in the property of one of her misters, her friends, gentlemen friends. I don't know how to word it, but I
No,
feel like
she's
that
still
could
no,
have.
she's still in her townhouse. At that time, I was looking at because say what you want about Marlo, her decor is amazing.
Marlo can design
That like her,
her
I feel like she
ass
missing her.
off.
I feel like she missing her calling personally,
She
but
should have went into interior design.
yeah, because that house is amazing. I'm
It
a guy
is.
saying this, and that was some amazing. I would have a few of them pieces in my house if I could afford it. But what I'm gonna say about Marlo is this with that house situation. I wonder if it's finished. I wonder if it's real. Did anybody pull up the land markings? Did anybody
You
pull
know,
up the?
I don't
Did
know.
anybody pull up? The city. occupancy to see if it's
City planning.
yeah. Anyone pull that up just to see because
She said in the
when you
reunion it's coming along and she should be in there by fall, I think. Did she say that? Fall is
I
coming.
don't remember what she said. I just remember thinking to myself that your house is a house full of closets. You could just dedicate like you could just build like what Toya Bush Harris and Dr. Heavily. You could just build you a 2 or 3 story closet.
We got to do a Married to Medicine recap also randomly.
Oh,
Just
we doing
random.
that's coming. We gonna wait until that till I get at least till I know a premiere date. When
Yeah,
I
they
know a
haven't
premiere
announced it
date,
yet.
they haven't announced it yet. When they get a premiere date, I will definitely we'll come back with the Married to Medicine because I definitely
I have a lot to say. I have a lot to
yeah.
say.
So, but not to skate off Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we talked about Marlo, we talked about Sheree, we talked about Sonya, we talked about Drew. I want to talk about Kenya a little bit more, but I'm gonna go ahead and move it over to Miss Kenya. So Miss Kenya Moore, we're still on this divorce thing, and I think we're going into that divorce thing into season 15. I am tired of this divorce thing. I just
That's what
remember,
happens when you marry somebody you don't really know.
yeah, no, that's very true, very true.
It's
But it just
unfortunate,
takes
but
me,
that's
it
what she
takes me
did.
back to that dinner scene with Kenya, Candy, Cynthia, Mike, and Todd, where he was like, "Take everything I have, I'll just rebuild it back again." While we're hearing allegedly you want half of more manor.
Whenever people say or act like, oh, I don't care, it's no big deal, my blessings are going to continue, they're going to have some sort of a struggle. I knew when he said that relationship was not going to last. I knew that he was done, not in love. And I knew and felt that I felt in my soul that he understood what he was doing by getting with her, if that makes sense, without saying too much. I could be off, but I feel like they probably had like a little affair, you know. If my connection gets weird, I'm sorry. For some reason, we have rain and wind and coldness. Makes no sense because yesterday it was 80 degrees, but okay, California.
You're
Um,
good. Just keep going. Keep going.
okay, but yeah, I feel like with that situation with Kenya and Mark Daly, I believe his name is.
Mhm.
Uh, I think he fell out of love quickly because if you guys were newlyweds, right? And then prior to being newlyweds, you weren't together that long, and the lust just caused you to run off to an island and get married. Then she ends up pregnant, which was a miracle. And I'm not being petty. She was 49 years old when she got pregnant. I'm like, whoa. So I feel like with him having grown children already and a lot of other things, I feel like he wasn't fully invested in that relationship because if he was, they would have lived together. Like the whole time she kept her home, her space, he was rarely at home. It looks like he's rarely around their daughter. And I'm like, there's no way he's that busy. I understand he has a restaurant, but I'm like, there's no way that you're more busy than someone who owns multiple businesses, has time to do a reality show, and being a full time mom, which I do like that about Kenya. It seems like compared to all the other housewives, it seems like she's a very present parent. Her child is usually with her. I'm not saying the other ones aren't, but they're comfortable with leaning on nannies or they have family like Candy and Sanya to help them. So I did like the situation with their daughter, but with their husband, I just feel like that was I can't call it an affair because they weren't like cheating, but it was like, I don't even count it as a marriage, honestly. I just,
Hmm.
I can't, like, just because you get the paperwork doesn't mean that both people are doing the work to set up the foundation of a long lasting marriage. And I just don't feel like that happened. It seemed like he didn't want her to come back on the show. And it seems like her coming back on the show kind of contributed to them having more issues. But I definitely always knew from the beginning that he, if they ever split, would come for her money because the
Mhm.
restaurant business, people assume, oh, he has a restaurant in New York, he's rich. No, that means he's paying a restaurant rent in New York and paying restaurant employees in New York and having to handle other things. So restauranteering is an expensive business. And I feel like her and his life helped with that. And now that she's leaving, he's supposedly coming after her for all these things. And I'm like, dude, you look like a simp. You look pathetic. You're a grown ass man coming after the money of the person who has your daughter 95% of the time. It's just, I don't like that.
Yeah. I didn't like it either. That's a good point. I didn't like that either. I'm gonna say this. He reminds me of a man who, after a woman has children, he's kind of like, I'm no longer interested. Like when she gets pregnant and stuff. Because I've known men like that. I've known, and it's like the craziest shit to me I've ever heard about life because I've never would think that just because your wife gets pregnant, you all of a sudden have no longer interest when you probably want the baby. Like I don't understand. Like
It's common. It's
it
common.
is, and like
Yeah.
I don't know what the psyche is on that, but it would be an interesting research project. I would definitely love to
I
do it.
did a paper on that in school like 7 months ago. It's a large, over 50% of
Of
men,
men
yeah, are
lose
like that.
interest in their wives after she gets pregnant.
Yeah, and it's not always because of the wife or the love being gone. Sometimes it's because the wife becomes too invested in the child because she's concerned. Other times, they're traumatized from the fact that a human comes out of that small thing. It genuinely freaks some men out. And the other half of it is attention and something. I have to go back on my notes, but it's common. It's very common, and you're probably spot on. And I didn't even think about that.
Well, that's because I did look at them because a part of me wanted to disagree with you
Mhm.
that he wasn't into Kenya. A part of me wanted to disagree with that just because, in the sense of things, I actually saw a connection.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until she got pregnant where that went away. So
Mhm.
it made me think he's one of those guys that does not want to see a woman pregnant. And it's crazy because he has kids. So it makes me wonder if that's what he left his kids' mothers for, because from what allegedly he has been married two other times other
Mhm.
than Kenya. So it
He
makes me
seems like he
wonder.
wants to be the center of attention.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that that's really where the psyche is that they're no longer the center of attention. There's no
Mhm.
longer be an investment of pouring things out to them anymore. It now has to go to these children. So it
Mhm.
just makes me feel like, okay, you knew this is something this lady wanted. So it makes me wonder if he thought what at a certain point in time, them eggs gonna scramble. So am I just gonna wait this out and hope that it doesn't work in my favor? It works in my favor. Like I think that that's really where his mind went. Is like he thought because she only had, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the season where I did not like her, which would have been okay. So I had to go through the lineup again because I had to figure out which season this was. And I know there's an easier way to say this, but work with my mind here. So let's see. Season 5, I did not like her. Season
Mhm.
6, I thought she was okay. Season 7, I did not like her. Season 8, I did not like her. Season 9, I loved her. That's when she first got married to him. No, no, that's not. No, season
She
10 is
was
when she first got
gone.
married.
She was
Season
gone.
10, season
Yeah.
9, she was gone. So season 10 is when I loved her. She came back married and she was actually tolerable. So I liked her.
She
Season,
was.
yes, she was tolerable. No, she wasn't gone season 8. She was absolutely there. You know who was gone was Portia.
Oh, I didn't
Because that
notice.
was the season of Kim Fields, I believe. I think Portia was gone. Portia was gone one of them seasons. I didn't like her that season. So I think it was actually season number 11. No, 12. It was season 12 when okay, so season 12 is when I did not like her when she called Tanya the C word. I think that's where it is, and I forgot my damn
Oh
note.
my gosh, they ran that woman off of that show. I forgot about her.
I
They
didn't. I want
ran.
her. I want her to make such like a grand comeback that it would just blow everybody away. I would.
Something happened with that Bolo stripper man because when that info came out, that lady went running for wherever a camera was not near.
So let's have a little fun with that. We got a little bit of time. Let's have some fun with that. What do you? Because this is this is alleged. I don't want anybody. Tanya, I love you. Don't be coming after me. Allegedly, I honestly think Tanya was a peeping tom, and she was watching the entire thing.
I do too.
I think she
But
was watching it. I think she was in the room. I don't think she participated, but she watched.
but she is Canadian and they have different standards and cultural values than us. So even to just watch is just as bad as doing the act. So
Oh my god.
yeah,
It's
I
not
have a
that.
friend
It
who's
was.
in Canada and was telling me
Oh my
she
god. It's not that
she
bad. Yeah, it's not
forsaken
that.
us. I was like, what?
It's not that bad. Tan, come on, because I would have watched too. So I mean,
Tanya, I feel like if anything, they should have worked harder
to
to
keep her.
get and keep Tanya. I felt like
Hmm.
she would have made a good housewife. She would
I
have.
thought when the moment the moment we met that lady on TV, the moment she came on, I loved her right away.
She's fun. Her personality, like, I love it too because she's a part of the Black community as the rest of us. But I think just because she's Canadian, she has a whole different way of speaking, a whole different vibe. She's like just
Well, she didn't
super.
let the ladies ruffle her skin except for Nene, which I didn't like. I thought Nene was she was fucked up for that. But I felt like she didn't let these ladies ruffle her the way she let Kenya ruffle her. And that thing that Kenya did with that cookie lady, that just really made me feel like, okay, see, you angry at your husband, but you don't want to take it out on him. So you're gonna take it out on this woman. Kenya does give me one of those women that will do that. And I feel like,
She seems like she gets happy and excited when someone's going through it in their love life,
yeah,
which is whack.
it is.
But
So now to bring it back to, Kenya versus Marlo, because I felt like this is, something that is continuously going to make a splash on the show. And I feel like
yeah,
it's old and tired. I feel like I don't really care anymore at this
that's
point.
why they
Why
got to
these two
change
don't
the
get along.
cast. I'm so glad you said
Yeah.
that because
Because
that
yeah.
is a big point that you made. I'm so happy that you said that. If you don't, I can't stand people who do things like that. That's all I could say. I can't. I just cannot. I just get annoyed with the cast sometimes. They need to. I want Tanya. That's all it is. That man that she hasn't married, that she's engaged to for like 11 years or something, that in itself is a storyline. Even if they never plan a wedding, it's a storyline. So I don't know. I just feel like Kenya does absolutely attack people when they're in love. And it's
So what do
weird.
you think? So I get, yeah, I get what you're saying there. I feel like she does do that same thing. But when she antagonizes the women when she's angry, do you think that a part of her gripe? Because I understand about the whole her mother instance about when Marlo said if a person's mother doesn't even want to be involved with them, they can't be all that. And whatever Marlo said. Do you really think that's really what it's about, or do you think it is something deeper?
No. I'm estranged from my mom and I'm living my life just fine. I think that I think Kenya's just messy. Like even prior to the show, because I was familiar with her when she was doing videos and plays and all of that. I was a
Hmm.
fan of her and actually liked her until she came on Real Housewives of Atlanta. So I don't know. I feel like that's just who she is. Some people are just naturally petty, naturally messy. But I feel like when she sees other people experiencing joy that she does not have,
Hmm.
then she takes that pettiness and that natural messiness and then attacks them. And quite frankly, is bullying. Like when she brought the Kenya more hair care
The
to
Marlo's
the little
event.
thing
Hmm.
after the girl spoke about her edges. Like, even though I don't like Marlo, I'm pretty fair, so I felt like that wasn't necessary. Kenya has to learn, in my opinion, the balance between throwing playful shade to defend yourself
Hmm.
and bullying. She has to find that happy medium, in
I
my
agree
opinion.
with you. I agree with that in a sense. However, to me, I do feel like she is holding Marlo like against the cliff. I do. I feel like she's holding her, and at any moment is like probably a dog whispers says, "I'm gonna drop you," without actually saying it. And I think Marlo is holding on because at some point they were friends. And I think that Marlo, once you're Marlo's friend, even though she may have iced you out, she still genuinely wants that love from you because she didn't really experience much of it. And I think that that's Marlo's problem. I think Marlo's problem really is that when it comes to people, yeah, she may have, kind of a narcissistic tendency to hold them to some kind of accountability that seems really irrational and stupid. But when it comes to, the love she has for them, she really goes hard for them. Like, 'cause if we saw her and Nene. They fell out, got back together, fell out, go back together. That's
I
a
think
prime
also
example.
with Kenya and Marlo, I'm glad you brought up Nene because I was going to next. I feel like Nene's issues with Kenya, I feel like that's I feel like Nene's a part of their little issue. Like there's some loyalty or something happening. Because Marlo is a very good friend to Nene still to this day. They pose and go places
Hmm.
together apparently. And then at the same time, Sheree was also when Kenya was beefing with Sheree heavy. Sheree was okay with Nene at that time. So I feel like a piece of Kenya's issue and Marlo's issue in general has to do with Nene. Like you said, they were friends before. However, comma, they were friends before with Nene present. She was the glue that brought them together. So I feel like maybe that's a piece of it. Because like people always try to make it seem like men are so territorial and all that. No, females are with their friends and stuff when it comes to like loyalty and stuff. So I feel like that's a piece of it. I don't know. Kenya and Marlo, I feel like they're gonna go back and forth the whole time that they're on this season. It's gonna just become the regular.
One thing I will say, thinking about what you just said, is that because I kind of thought about Kenya and Portia.
Mm.
And one of the things that Kenya did, because I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of the times, even though I don't like Kenya, I actually understand where she's coming from.
Yep, I think everyone can.
I actually understand.
Yeah.
It's just her delivery
It's
makes it
effed up.
terrible. So that way we can't mess with it because it was like, well, you're not showing it better. But the problem that I don't like with Kenya is Kenya likes to hold on to things and put it in her pocket. And then when you exude a behavior of whatever she has in there, she's going to pull it out. She goes, remember, you did this. Like with the thing about Portia, and like, and Portia talking about she went into anger management. She goes, well, you've been in 3 fights. Let's not forget. And it's like, well, okay, she can't move on if you're going to continue to throw in her face things that she has done.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. She
Yeah,
does
it's like
tend to
she
like,
can't. And I think she does the same thing with Marlo. I think that they can't move on is because you're waiting for her to mess up in a way that you have talent. And I can't get with that because if you're going to forgive someone, you have to forgive everything.
mhm.
You can't, and then you can't just sit there and forgive them, try to move past it. And then the moment they do something that reminds you of why you let them go in the first place, you bring that back up. And it's like, well, if you're forgiving me for that, then why are you bringing that up? And a lot of people, and there are limitations I do have with it. There's certain things you should not let go of. Absolutely. I'm not saying that if someone has harmed you in any way, that you don't have to necessarily let go, but then you need to reestablish or whether or not you want them in your space. Even if you're on a show where you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars, you need to set parameters then. If that's
Yeah,
the case, hey, I don't want to film with her.
like Candy did, even though I don't agree with it, I respect it because she held a boundary and she hasn't gone backwards, which would have made her look wishy washy with Phaedra. I felt like with Kenya and Marlo, when Marlo said that sick crap about her mom, your mama don't even want you. I was like, they really aired that? That's horrible, but if someone says something like that to me, like to bring up something that deeply affects me, it's not even about the fact that it was a mom. If you know that something deeply affects someone emotionally to where it has stifled and interrupts their adult being, then you don't throw that in their face. Obviously, yeah, we already know Marlo did it, it's bad, whatever, we moved on. However, I feel like that has continuously and forever bothered Kenya because every
And
season
that's
that Kenya is on, that Marlo is on, at some point in the season, it comes up. So I
what I'm
definitely
saying.
agree with you. Like, if you feel away,
Yes.
Miss Kenya Moore, you need to stand in that feeling and do what you have to do because you don't have to film with her. There's one, two, three, four, five other women that you can film with and friends of. So you don't really have to film with her. You could pull a like Jennifer Williams, Jackie Christie on Basketball Wives and just be done. And that happens sometimes. It's reality TV. So sometimes people take it too far. But to
Yes.
drag on and attack
No,
people
it's not even
for
the
little
fact that
stuff.
she's dragging on. It's Kenya is forgiving, bringing it back up. The moment that Marlo does something, she brings up that as a validation point. And I
Yeah.
hate when she does that because it's like, okay, you just said you forgave this woman. You shouldn't forgive her then. You shouldn't try to move forward with her if you really cannot let that go. there's nothing wrong. And I feel like people honestly misunderstand that. Just
Mhm.
because you can't let go of something does not necessarily mean that it's wrong.
That's
It
right.
just means that you may need to make better peace with yourself with it. But what I'm gonna
Mhm.
say about Kenya again is that I feel like she does this all the time. She always tries to move forward with people, but then hold on to something they have done to her in the past or that they had done in general, and then it kind of makes it seem like, hey,
I'm sorry, my husband is
oh,
snoring.
he's snoring.
I don't know if everyone can hear it. He
Yeah, we
works
hear ya.
12-hour nights. I'm
No
so
problem. No,
sorry.
it's okay. We almost done here anyway, so I'm just gonna go ahead and close it out. Season 15 is, coming. So I do have a couple of questions. They're fun questions. So if you can bring back a OG housewife, who would you bring out back and why?
Ooh, let me really think. OG. I would honestly, I want to see Lisa Wu. I feel like
Not Lisa.
the reason
Yeah,
is Deshawn, she's okay, but even being divorced, like this woman, I just don't want her on TV. I feel like it'll ruin her. Let's keep her sanctified and where she's at. Lisa Wu, though, if you think back to the early days when everyone was scared of Nene, included the production, Lisa Wu got up, sat her back on that couch.
yep,
Lisa Wu played a good like matriarch to the group. But then at the same time, she wasn't bored. She was very open with her relationships, and her
yeah,
dating life is still a hot mess. So I feel like, I feel like she should come back. But I feel like a part of the reason she doesn't want to come back is because now with the newer cast members, there's a little bit of an age gap. I feel
yeah.
like Kenya and Sheree and Marlo are the only older ones, and
Candy too.
most
Candy.
fans don't really care
Yeah,
for Sheree or Marlo or Kenya. So I don't know. I just feel like Lisa Wu would be good. There needs to be a balance. There's too many younger women. Like when Portia was on this show, I was just like,
yeah.
I can't
I
stand
wouldn't mind
Portia.
Portia back, but you know who I actually would mind seeing on my TV screen is Shamari DeVoe. I would love to see
Oh my
Shamari back.
god, I forgot
I
she was in
don't.
the show.
Yes, I would love to see her back just because I felt like she added a dynamic that was just so interesting that they
Mhm.
really didn't expand on it. I felt like it would have been fun. Like I felt
That's
like she
because
could have fun.
Nene was tripping that season and it overshadowed Shamari. But Shamari was definitely a great housewife. I think she blended,
Absolutely,
especially being that she's from another girl group, Black. So it would have, her and Candy's lifestyles and things would have been similar. I think if someone like Shamari was on the show, then someone like Candy, I might be okay with staying on the show. But they kind of, she just shouldn't drink so much on the show.
yeah, maybe we get a handle on that. But bring it. Speaking of Shamari, there is another reality TV show that I believe is going to center on MTV. It's a couples retreat. We are going to pick up that one, so I'm definitely excited about that. So that's why I brought up Shamari's because I just saw the preview to that, and I'm really excited. So other than that, that seems to be it. I am gonna go ahead and close this out, but don't forget, you guys, season 15 premieres this Sunday. We will be back on my channel, Real Housewives of Atlanta. The first episode we will be reviewing. I do not know if we'll continue. We'll see how this goes. Overall, and then on Mrs. Best Reviews channel, we are actually going to be doing Basketball Wives. I believe this actually is going to happen on the same day. We'll keep you guys appointed for that. Anything else you want to add?
um, oh, for the upcoming season, I think that Drew and that's what we didn't talk about. Drew and Ralph's relationship.
Oh, maybe
It's
because I need to see it play out. Hold on, well, let's do a little 2 minute real
it
quick.
doesn't really matter anymore because
The,
they're getting
the
divorced.
divorce, yeah. Maybe I'm glad I didn't talk about that because
Not much to
maybe it's
say.
not much to say. There's only a few things that he did, and they were in therapy, so it wasn't that much. I feel like I'm glad we didn't talk about it because I don't want it to overshadow what I feel is to come.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
think that's more
maybe, yeah,
important going forward.
yeah.
He's going to have an interesting season.
Absolutely, because I didn't talk about the thing with Saya and her husband. I feel like I just want to focus on the drama of these ladies and not so much, you know, everything else. So that's we're gonna definitely talk about it on the first episode or whenever they expose this big old divorce because I want to see how that played out.
Bravo, they'll
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
advertise it and then we won't get nothing till the very end.
But
But
girl, we
thank
gotta get
you
up
for
out here.
having me.
Thank you for coming. Let's let JoJo get a sleep over there. So you know what?
Yes.
All right, you guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to both of our channels so that way you get our content. We are definitely going to try to keep this going as much as we can. We're having a lot of fun doing this. So I appreciate you all, and we will see you next time, guys. Bye bye.
Bye.